Hey everyone, this is Criminal Minds, Season 12, Episode 1, called The Crimson King. And I'm really excited about Criminal Minds starting up again. And as obviously everyone knows, by now or should know, um, Thomas Gibson, who plays Hotch, or Aaron Hotchner, um, has been fired. Just before the season started, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Um, so I think he is only. I've been hearing that he's only in the first 2 episodes, possibly even 3. I think I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure about how many episodes he is in this season before they have to transition his character out, whether they kill him off or just transition him out to, some other part of the country or part of the world. Either way, definitely after like the third episode, Hotch is not going to be in there anymore because of Thomas Gibson and his being fired. So just to get into this episode, previously what happened on season 11 in the season finale, there was a prison break where 13 serial killers have escaped. So in the Sonora Desert, which is 88 miles out of Tempe, or outside of Tempe, a man is handcuffed to this, kind of, I guess you could say, metal plank, and is walking, or the metal plank is kind of like behind his neck, and his hands are up like this, and a man, so he's walking through the desert with blood on his shirt, and clearly kind of dehydrated and delirious. He comes across the highway and almost gets run over by a semi-truck, but then is taken to the hospital where the doctor is showing something on the man's abdomen. We don't see it just yet. So then cuts to the Chihuahua Desert, which is 40 miles outside of El Paso, and we don't get his name just yet, but I already know Adam Rodriguez's character's name, which is Luke Alves. Meets with a woman who has papers for to pass as a Mexican citizen. He's then forced to open a trunk because she has a gun on him, and a man steps out and forces Alves to go with them to the other side, even though that wasn't part of the original deal. Eventually, he gets the gun from the guy and reveals he's with the FBI. Once they arrest the guy, Rossi asks why he isn't with the BAU full time, and Alves says he isn't profiled because he needs to chase. Okay. Before Alves can go, Rossi reveals one of the escaped serial killers seems to be outside of Tempe. So Alves at least then, goes with Rossi, JJ, and Reed to Tempe, to go with them to Tempe. Hotchner and Tara Lewis, go to the hospital and look at the guy's stomach, and what's on the guy's stomach are the letters BAU. Anyway, so after, the opening credits, the first opening line, or first opening quote, is, "Anger's my meat, I sup on myself, and so shall starve with feeding," which is by William Shakespeare. And so, I think Rossi is the one who says that quote. Can't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure it was Rossi though. Anyway, so Reed then talks about him and his mother's visit to Paris and his mother's condition of dementia that she was recently diagnosed with in the previous season, And after that, he asks about Alves and how Penelope is handling it. And by the looks of it, I don't know. It seems like she doesn't know about it, but anyway. Well, actually, no, she should know about it because he's been helping. Alves has been helping with catching the serial killers that had escaped. So never mind. She doesn't know about it, but she doesn't seem like she's happy about it. So anyway, in the elevator, Alves and Penelope have this awkward conversation, and it's so damn cute. And I'm like, it's like I'm starting to think: do we see like a mini baby boy in the works or something? Because since Morgan left, the baby boy and baby girl dynamic has left and gone, and I mean, do you see some sort of, you know, kind of flirty relationship between Penelope and Alves going on or something? Because I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I wouldn't be that mad if they have that. I mean, it's obviously not going to be the same as Derek and Penelope, but I mean, I'm not going to be that mad if they kind of, you know, have this flirty relationship between the two going on in the future. I wouldn't be that mad about it, because I mean, Adam Rodriguez is, whew. Anyway, that's not the point of this whole episode. Hotch and Tara compare pictures of the guy in the hospital, the new victim, and the writing on him with previous pictures of previous victims, and see something within them that is different between the previous victims and the new victim, and so-called others in DC. Alves goes to the conference room and meets Reed, talks about Daniel Cullen, which is one of the escaped serial killers, and Alves doesn't really think that the Cullen, or so, I don't know, I don't remember if he says it here or on the plane to Tempe, but he says somewhere that he doesn't believe Cullen's involved. And that he initially doesn't believe Cullen's involved. So once Rossi and JJ come in, it's revealed their hesitation marks on the most recent victim, indicating a copycat. So Hotch tells the team that they are to look for any discrepancies with the older victims and the new one. Lewis questions the new victim. So Lewis goes to the hospital and asks the victim, Brian, to talk her through what happened, and he reveals he left work, went to his apartment, and it was unlocked. And before he was able to even process and think, oh, that's not right, in regards to his door being unlocked, he was knocked out and he woke up strapped to a table with a gas mask on his face, and so he was made to inhale this white-looking gas, and asked what his name was, and when he says his real name, the guy says, no, that isn't your name. He reveals the smoke tasted like bubblegum, which coincides with the drug used in most if not all dental offices. So this makes the BAU conclude that they're dealing with another fugitive nicknamed Mr. Scratch, or his real name is Peter Lewis. Reed then hypothesizes that Peter is a mathematical genius and has planned every variable for an end game. So that's the whole thinking so far. And after calling Penelope to get told by her that there's a phone call by Jennifer Giroux on a Rossi Street, so Rossi has Penelope tell Hotch and Lewis to go over there with other police officers, but because they're currently still on the plane to go over to Tempe. And Lewis but Rossi has Penelope tell them to make sure they know it could be a trap. So once there's a woman, calling out Hotch's name, and eventually they find her strapped to maybe strapped to a chair. I don't remember exactly, but I think she's in a chair. Clearly, clearly just kind of out of it. Continuing to say Hotch, 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 Hotch. And she has Hotch kind of carved into her forehead. So Lewis says Peter targeted people in the 80s, or after. This is after the woman's been taken to the hospital, at least. So Lewis says that Peter targeted people in the 80s who made false accusations of satanic rituals, and the two victims are too young for that. So Hotch thinks they must share a different condition. So they look at the medications on her counter and finds antidepressants and antipsychotics. So once JJ, Rossi, Reed, and Alvis come in, we learn that both victims suffer from dissociative identity disorder, or DID. And Peter is having someone else, kind of do this for him. Tara then tells Brian that it matters that he had it and that he should have told them about it, because he didn't necessarily share this with Tara at first, and she needs to know about his other personalities, which were two little girls. She also needs him to tell her other kids who went with him to the camp for the disorder, because he went to this camp to help deal with the disorder. So then it cuts to Alves and talking with Hotch about why he wants to kill Cullen, because his partner was tortured by Cullen. And he isn't at the point where Hotch is, which is to put killers in prison for feeling like failures rather than successes. Hotch tells him, Hotch feels like there's something about the profile that isn't sitting right with Alves, so he has Alves, tell them what it is. So Alves is like, they can't analyze a fugitive's actions on the outside without first analyzing what he did on the inside. Then proceeds to ask what he did on the inside, and Reed's like, nothing, because he was a model prisoner. Alves continues on by saying that he didn't have any contact, Peter didn't have any contact with other convicts, didn't join or get pressured to join by a gang inside, and when he escaped, he picked up right where he left off, like no time had passed. JJ says that he had, furthers that statement by saying he had everything set up before he escaped. Alves then asks why he came to Tempe. Reed says he had the highest concentration of people with this specific disorder, DID, here in Tempe. But Alves says that Reed earlier stated that Peter wouldn't reveal himself until his plan was foolproof, and that his current plan isn't foolproof because Brian didn't didn't have a dissociative break, and the woman who they found did. So I mean, he's not really getting his desired result. So this plan isn't really going off as he wanted. So the only part of the plan that has worked, according to Alves, is bringing the BAU to Tempe. And his plan was to get one of the survivors to make a list of all the people he could target. And Hotch tries to get Penelope not to distribute the list because they figure that what Peter was trying to do was have one of the new victims to have to create a list of all the people who they remember being at the camp with them for DID. And so they try to get Penelope to distribute the list, but it's too late. She already sent it to a patrol officer at the hospital. Brian hears the name off of the list that he remembers, and it triggers him to kill the officer. As this is happening, we see Peter plant the idea in Brian's head where if he hears a name that he remembers, he is from camp. He has to, kill whoever is reading the list to him. So at the hospital later, Tara blames herself, but Hotch tries to reassure her. So Reed then says Peter created a DID personality in Brian, and the only way that could happen is if Brian had a propensity for psychopathy in his past. Alvis then realizes that the metal bar that Peter placed on Brian was custom made, so Rossi and him call Garcia to have her check the local shops, including sex shops. And when Garcia realizes that Alvis is on the call with Rossi, she gets all flustered. And I'm like, if y'all don't, put them together, I mean, is Penelope still with that guy with the glasses from a few seasons ago? I can't remember what the character's name was or what the actor's name is, but the guy who was basically just like Penelope, who was good at computers, and can't remember his fucking name, but anyway, he was on a few seasons back. I don't remember if he's still her boyfriend or not, because I remember he was her boyfriend then, but I don't remember if he was her boyfriend now. So is he still her boyfriend? And if not, if not, can they just get her together with Alvis already? Because I'm like, really, that come on. Anyways, later we see Brian going to Peter Lewis, and then Tara is still beating herself up over it. So they then talk to Brian's parents, JJ and Tara do, and they ask about his DID. Brian's parents adopted Brian, but found out from the pediatrician that someone in the foster care system had smashed bottles against him, then cut him with the jacket glass. So JJ asks if he was ever violent, and Brian's dad says he cut open his own scars, and he would go into chant and thought he would self-soothe, but he would talk like little girls. Brian's mother says that they thought they were in the foster care system with him. So Tara asks what he would say exactly when he would talk like them, and they don't say what Brian would say until later. At a local sex shop, Reed and Alvis find out that Peter bought it there, but used the name Dr. Spencer Reed. And Peter left a driver's license, or the cashier there says that she pretty much had Peter leave a driver's license because she felt like something was off with him. Turns out that Peter used Reed's social security card, and there's a local address. On the way to the house, Alvis believes that Cullen is involved, even though he previously thought otherwise. And once there, Tara and JJ try to talk him down by saying over and over again, no one's going to hurt you like that ever again. Which is basically what I assume was Brian saying over and over again to, self-soothe and everything. And then Brian's arrested. Apparently Peter made Cullen lose his memories about what he did and his name. And later Alvis and Hotch talk about Peter escaping and what he did, And as we all know he would, Alvis joined the BAU. I mean, of course, he's not officially a BAU member yet, but it was, I mean, Rodriguez is supposed to be a main cast member, so I mean, if he didn't become a full-blooded member by the end of this episode, then it was going to be next episode. Anyway, Alvis then goes to the elevator, and Penelope is there, and he reveals that he's part of the team to her. So she has to find some way to be next to him. And they kind of had this cute little banter again about her nice face and her last name and her boyfriend. Because I don't know if she's actually still with that guy from a few seasons ago. I think they had broken up. I don't remember, but anyway. So the last quote of the episode, because they do one quote in the beginning of the episode and one quote at the end. And the last quote is, "The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones." And it's another William Shakespeare quote. And Hotch is the one who reads it this time. The last scene is showing Peter circling an address of one of the people that were at the camp with Brian, and so I feel like this is like Peter, escaping is not going to be dealt with until at least until after they get back from winter break. Possibly even until the season finale, which that's stretching it a little bit too much, or stretching it out too long. They kind of need to wrap that whole serial killers escaping thing by the time they go to winter break, or at least until right after they come back from winter break, because at this point, I mean, if y'all watch Grimm, what happened with Grimm was they started off with season 1 in Grimm with the keys that the Royals wanted. They kept that going the entire first season, and then they talked about it in passing in the first 2, maybe 3 episodes of even season 2 of Grimm, and then they just dropped it off the face of. They just literally stopped talking about it until season 5, and then by then they lost a lot of viewers. In my opinion, they lost a lot of loyal viewers because they kept, focusing on Juliet, who a lot of people hated. Definitely hated by the time season 3 came around. They definitely hated her by then. I personally was indifferent to Juliet in the first season. I didn't really care for her. I didn't really love her, but I didn't really hate her either. I was just indifferent to her. By the time the season finale of season 2 came around, I definitely hated her because I was like, nah, they're focusing way too much on her, and I felt like the only reason why they were doing that was because of the fact that she was in a relationship and sleeping with David Gutini, or however you say his last name, and so I feel like that's the only reason why she had that much focal point from season 2 onward, was because she was in a relationship with the star of the show. So they can't. So Grimm lost a lot of loyal viewers because of the fact that they detracted from the keys, which they shouldn't have done for almost 4 to 4.5 seasons. And so they're on their last and final season that was supposed to start in the fall, short in the next few weeks, but they shortened it to like 13 episodes, and they made it the final season because I have a feeling it's because of that. So Criminal Minds kind of needs to not to me is going to have the opposite problem, where they focus too much on the the superhero serial killers who don't get captured for episodes on end, and by the time you get back to it, you're scratching your head like, well, what the fuck happened with that? Like, what happened with it? Because they're gonna spend too much time in between those episodes not talking about it, and then people are gonna be scratching their heads like, well, what the fuck? What like? Can you refresh your memory? What happened? What happened with that, and what the person did, and all this stuff. So they're gonna have to, like, kind of end that plot line by the time they get back from winter break. Because if they don't, then they're really kind of, to me, shooting themselves in the foot if they don't do that. So that's just my opinion on it. Now, on to next week's episode, which is called Sick Day, I believe, where an unsub seems to be making its way to LA, and JJ seems to be getting hurt. Now to think about it, we haven't seen her husband or her, I think, kids. I think she has 2 kids now. So we haven't seen them in a while, so I'm thinking we're due to see her husband and her kids soon. And it seems like her possibly getting hurt next season, next episode, could be because of that. And it's also looking like the unsub is has some sort of paranoid schizophrenic disorder. So maybe that's what's going to happen. Who knows? But we'll see. And that's all I have to say about that. And if you want to discuss with me about this episode and previous episodes and upcoming episodes, feel free to do it. I would love to talk to you guys about it. So hit like if you like this video. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I will see you guys next week on Common Minds. Bye.